tell me this. Okay, you said you felt grief and you saw a baby and it's like, man, that should have been my baby or that could have been my baby. How did you keep going from there? Like, did you continue to feel grief or did you suppress it? Or did you get healing or did you get counseling? How did that work out?
No, I did not get counseling. I did not get healing. After I was pretty much kind of shut down,
Okay.
when I tried to express my feelings about it, I kind of just tucked it away and just kind of like acted like nothing, like it had never, like I just detached myself from it. And I just wanted to say real quick, like, numbness is suppression in like the highest form, because
Mm-hmm.
like if you're numb to something, you're not aware and you can ignore what you're not aware of, and you can willfully numb yourself to things. And so I think that was just that, at that period of just like going deeper into the suppression and the numbness, because it was not hard, because it was not like outside of like my mom, my aunt, and one friend that I think I end up telling, but she didn't go to my high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside of those three people, no one knew. So
Wow.
it was not some type of like thing that people could just look at me and tell, or, like it wasn't very hard to detach myself from it, because it's like my mom don't want to talk about it, like
Mm.
no one wants to talk about killing a life,
Mm.
like no one wants to talk about that, because in essence, though it is downplayed and normalized and seen as a right, and just seen as all of these things, we all know that that's not right. Like
Yeah.
who is against going to get ice cream? Who is against going to do anything that is just a good thing? Like no one is ever really against a good thing. But wherever there is like taboo or contention or
Wow.
things like that, is because there is an inherent wrongness that we can acknowledge, but we're not willing to accept and actually like deal with what the elephant in the room, because
Wow.
there is, you cannot say that the seed of an apple is not an apple, but it is an apple. So
Yes.
just because you never grew it all the way doesn't stop it from being what it is. And it just doesn't go, like it's still an apple. So
Yes.
though it does not have an heartbeat at conception, it has one. You didn't give it a chance to have its heartbeat. You didn't give it a chance to grow fingers, legs, and toes. You didn't
Right.
give it a chance. So you can't say that it's not a baby because you didn't give it a chance. Like
Wow.
it is that you just didn't give it a chance to become what it is. So that is not the same as saying that that's not what it is. And to snuff it out essentially is killing it. Regardless of
Girl.
what stage you kill it, you are killing something. And I think if after that you are still okay with it, but a lot of times we try to soothe ourselves with it's not alive. It's just like you said, it's just a glob of cells. We soothe ourselves and tell ourselves, because one thing we have to understand about our minds, it doesn't know lies or truth. So I can tell my brain anything and it will start creating things to make that thing true, because that's what I think and that's what I've said. So if I tell myself enough, it doesn't matter. It's not a baby, this and that. And if I tell myself that enough, that is my truth, but it's not the truth. And
Girl.
um, it's just I came from that grieving and that numbness, and I stayed there. I stayed there, and I want to quickly say before I forget, it just muddled deeper into shame and self-hatred.
Oh, there it is.
Though
Yes.
no one could see what I had done, I knew what I had done, and I felt what I was what I had done because I didn't know Christ. So I was every bad thing that I had done. And so when you don't know Christ, you are the bad thing, and then you continue to do bad things. So you continue to drown in bad things, and then you become a bigger and bigger and bigger bad thing. And so I can't say that that decision made me stop hanging out with boys. I can't say that that made me, I was not sexually active for a while after that,
Yeah.
but I can't say clearly I had a child out of wedlock, you know, like 4 years later.
Yeah.
So I can't say that that made me a smarter, better person. I can't say, and I don't regret my son by any means, because my son at 20 was what I was supposed to have at 16.
Wow.
He was supposed to save me. He was supposed to open my heart to God. He was supposed to change my life. He was supposed to have me, he was supposed to be the stick in my wheel to make me slow down and sit down somewhere and open, be still enough for God to finally be able to catch up with me. He was supposed to be that, because I remember when I was pregnant with my son, my grandma told me, you will give birth to your salvation. And without my son, I would probably be numb, ignorant, Jezebelic, you know, I would probably be all of these things today, because he was the only thing that made me wake up, that made me say, wait a minute. I felt like I had been dead, and then I gave birth to him, and it was like,
ooh, girl.
I didn't know what that was. So I did go into the new age stuff because I didn't understand what it was. I didn't understand what that feeling was. And all that was readily available in that space was yoga and chakras. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But really, he was opening me up and taking me on a path to God, because at that moment, I knew I wanted to be better, but I was never good enough to be better for myself. But he was enough to make me want to be better. And it was through him that I found Christ. Girl. So I can't say that I regret him, but I can say that he was at, like I said, he was at 20, what I was supposed to have at 16.
Pause.
Yeah.
Y'all, do y'all see when Nia talk? Okay, I'm pretty extroverted. I have an extroverted personality, but I'm over here talking about, like, if you listening, you gotta watch this. Okay, you gotta watch the video. Go on over to YouTube and watch the video. But y'all, when she talk, my spirit just be jumping like, yeah, girl, and that girl. I'm over here talking about tag me in. Let me point out a couple of things that you said. Okay, you said, and please, Lord, don't let it leave my brain. You said your mind don't know right from wrong. Your mind don't know truth. And so you can actually convince yourself that something is true or something is a lie. Then the reason why is because the truth is in your spirit. The truth comes from your spirit. Your mind is attached to your heart. Okay. And so this is why let me say this. A lot of people are living from their soul and not their spirit. They're living from what the world is saying, what culture is saying. And now I'm going to talk specifically to believers too, but you're living from what you feel, what you sense, and not the spirit. When God says, if you are born again, if you've accepted me as your Lord and Savior, guess what? You are a new creation. That means you have been made new. Your spirit is now one with God's spirit. This is what your spirit looked like. Now it's a totally different thing. It looks totally different. And he's calling us to live from that new nature, not the old nature, not being governed by the flesh, because our soul is in the middle of a spirit in our flesh, and it's going to go wherever the leader tells it to go. So if the leader is spirit, whichever one's, if the leader is a spirit, it's going to go where the spirit is going. If the leader is a flesh, it's going to go where the flesh is telling it to go.
Yeah.
And those of us who are, contemplate like, yeah, I want to, abortion is right. And, it's just a glob of cells. Who are you being controlled by? Are you being controlled by your spirit?
Yes.
Or by your flesh? A person who doesn't even know God has enough God in them to know that, that is not true. You have convinced yourself enough to make it true. And there's the thing with suppression. You can only suppress something for so long. That thing is going to come back up because there is a law of physics, y'all. I promise I'm not a physician. I don't do physics. Physicist. I was about to say a physician.
Physicist.
But I'm telling you, I had a message a month or so ago about denial versus suppression. And when you try to put a ball underneath water, you can only hold it down for so long because of the density. You know what I'm saying? The difference in density. Water is more dense than air. And so that air in that ball is going to pop right back up. There's a message up in there somewhere. Okay. Truth is going to always make that. It weighs is heavier. It is foundational, and it's gonna pop them lies up. Get on up out of here. Pop it back up. Pop it up against above the water because you need to deal with them lies. So when you said, you know what I'm saying, you suppressed it and you lived in a numb space. That's what trauma does. That's what happens when you go through a traumatic event.
Yes.
Laying your body down and going against life, going against how God created you, that is traumatic. What trauma means, what trauma means is to experience something, to go through something that is above your mental, emotional, and even spiritual capacity to understand it or comprehend it. You went through an abortion. I don't care what age you are. I don't care what stage you are in life. The fact that you were 16 and you didn't have knowledge, you didn't understand, it made you even more, more susceptible. But I'm saying it's traumatic at any age, at any stage, because your brain can't comprehend you killing somebody.
And can I just say real quick?
Yes.
And it's traumatic for any reason.
Yes.
I don't care what reason you give yourself for getting it done. You will not escape the spiritual ramifications. You will not escape the trauma, so keep going back.
Girl, yes. Because when you go through traumatic things, until it is dealt with, it's going to stay in your body. Your body is a house of memory. Your nervous system is a nervous system of memory. Your mind is a mind of memory. Your emotions are an emotional memory. And so what we don't talk about a lot in our culture is all these people, not just the women, but the men who are fathers to these children and the family around these mothers and fathers who are having these children, having abortions. It affects us on a level that is deep rooted. And if we don't deal with it, if we don't confront it, if we don't deal with the grief and the reasons why, it goes deep into our soul, to the point to where it turns into the common root that it turns into is bitterness, hatred, unforgiveness. We don't talk about the emotional ramifications because here's the thing, what you do in the body, if you don't deal with it, especially sin, what I'm talking about sin, if you don't deal with that, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's not a good thing because things that are unseen, things that are deeply rooted, that's not supposed to be there, it will, like I said, it will turn into a root. That root will get deep, it'll produce seeds, and those seeds will grow. And this is why you see the effects. This is why you see feminist movement. This is why you see women hating men or men hating women. This is why we be thinking, oh, I just laid down on a table and now I'm good. No. It's coming out of you some way or another. And it may be in the little leaves right now because you can't really see the growth, but give it a couple of years. Give it 5, 10. Women who are in their 50s are still crying over what they did in their teens and their 20s because they never dealt with it. There's a consequence for every action, good or bad. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation because this is what I really want women. I know you do as well. I want them to see that nothing is poof, be gone. Like I said, every action has a consequence. And God called us to life. God wants to experience life and the consequences of life. But when we go against his spirit, against his wind, his breeze, his beautiful breeze of love and of joy and of peace and patience and all that stuff, we are literally taking our own breath away.
Yes.
When you go, have you ever walked against a wind? You can't breathe. And that wind
No.
is so strong. It's like the wind, because you're not made to go against the wind. You're made to
No.
go with the wind. You're made to flow with the wind, with the Holy
Yes.
Spirit
Yes.
of God. And so let me read this really quickly. I want you to tell me if this is something that you've experienced, like when you, after your abortion, some of the emotional effects that women experience after abortion is depression,
Mhm.
thoughts of suicide,
Mhm.
feelings of grief,
Mhm.
anxiety,
Mhm.
a lowered self-esteem,
Mhm.
regret,
Mhm.
sexual dysfunction,
Mhm.
avoidance of emotional attachment,
Mhm.
flashbacks, and
Mhm.
even substance abuse. These are some of the things, and I got this from lakenormancpc.org. It's just a Google. I think they did a study on some women and all that good stuff. But can you see yourself on that list, Nia? Did you experience some things like that? Yeah.
Yes. Just go ahead and put my picture. Just go ahead, pose me, list
Listen.
everything on the list, honey. Because, and honestly, what it's like, I don't want to generalize everyone, but generally, by the time you get to the point of needing to have an abortion, there is some mental illness and mental unwellness happening there, because that is such a jarring choice that you
Yes.
cannot be completely walking with Christ. You cannot be completely healthy, well, whole. Like, you cannot be those things and get an abortion,
And choose
because
murder.
it's just not going to happen. So a lot of those things on that list, I was already dealing with at
Yes.
16. I was already that list at 16. And so after the abortion, it just hugged on me tighter. Like, it just got on me even more, because there was another foothold. There was another thing for it to stick to. So it's like, if that's what it was, because I do think, if I remember correctly, like short after that, I know I did try weed for the first time. So, and I've always known that I've had like an addictive personality. So I was never like, after that, I'm not going to say, oh, I was smoking every day, or, like, but I definitely know that it was just, I think I did drink. I never really been into using substances, just because I've never wanted to be that type of person, but everything else on that list, I don't remember a time in my life prior to that where I wasn't that list. Honestly, I can't really say that went long periods of time without depression, anxiety, lower self-esteem, because I just can't say that I had, and
Oh yeah.
I'm not victim blaming myself or anything like that, but I do believe in accountability. And it's like, I should not have been sneaking out. I should not have been hanging out with boys that I thought I could trust. Why did I think I could trust them? So that just shows you how fractured that I was, to think that I, as a young girl, could trust the young boys that I didn't know. Our families didn't know one another. Like, I didn't know them. Like, I was not their cousin. I wasn't, a family friend. And even in those situations, abuse, and rape happens. But it's like, I know that it is considered young and fun to make unwise choices, but that was not a wise choice.
Mm.
And so that list definitely played a part, because the low self-esteem says, go against your parents, sneak
Mm.
out so you can look cool, so you can have fun, so you can do this and you can do that, and you can impress these people. But I realize, when I see teenagers and young girls now that are truly confident and truly like have that self-esteem that makes them respect their parents, and they have healthy parents. It doesn't go to say that you just obey unhealthy parents, because unhealthy parents tend to breed disobedient children.
Facts.
But it's like you take a deeper care and protection over yourself when you have high self-esteem, even at a young age. Because at a young age, you value yourself enough to say, I'm going to follow the rules. I'm going to watch the company I keep. I'm going to do all of these things that I was not doing because of the low self-esteem. So I think the list can precede and come after the abortion.
Yes. And that's the thing. That's the thing. When you were saying that, because I started having sex with a guy at 15 and I thought I was pregnant. I come to find out that I wasn't. I think my period it just came late.
Yeah.
But we was already talking about abortion. He was like, I got a cousin, I got an auntie, because you need an adult to get an abortion. And here's the thing. The fact that I didn't feel like I had anybody to go to. Yes. I was in an unhealthy situation. I didn't have structure. I knew my father, but I lived with my mother. I come from a broken home. And so if we really want to be honest and get deep rooted, get down to the core, it's not the baby that's the issue. It's the unhealthiness that you're in right now. It's the fear. You don't feel like you have support.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? The one who put the baby in you is telling you to kill the baby. So that just destroys your confidence in you as a mother. That destroys your confidence as a woman. That destroys your confidence as being taken care of by a man. It destroys your trust in men. It destroys your trust in everything. Because when you just said the fact that you even want to get to that point of saying, I have to do something so extreme, because that is extreme, to literally stop a life, stop a heart from beating that is done. Conception has started. That is extreme. And so if we deal with those things, if we tend to that, if we acknowledge that I'm just afraid, I'm just scared right now, or I know the Father's not going to be there. If we understand that, I believe that we will be able to see our situation more soberly and realize that, okay, I'm pregnant. It's not the baby's fault. It's not the baby that I need to go after and kill. How about I tell someone, or I say, mom, dad, or somebody, like, this is what's happening, but I feel unsafe. How about I just talk about it and say, I'm scared right now. And so just to encourage a young woman who's listening to this, you may be pregnant right now, just like Nia was. You try to cover it up. You in high school, or maybe you in your 20s. Maybe you don't have money. Maybe the man is saying get an abortion. Maybe the man left you, or maybe you were raped, because we're going to talk about that briefly too. Maybe you were raped and you just feel like you're in a situation that cannot be fixed. The only way to get out of this is to kill the baby. Let me tell you, baby girl, that's not the only way. That's not the enemy. That's what the enemy wants you to think. He wants to back you into a corner. Y'all, I'm talking so fast, I get so excited. He wants to back you into a corner to make you believe that you have no more options, that there is no hope for you. But let me tell you what I didn't know. I'm sure what Nia didn't know at that young age, but what we do now is that God is faithful. He literally sent his son on the cross to die for a people that said, screw you. We don't care about you. We're going to do whatever we want to do. And he still said, I'm here for you. So no matter what situation you're in, you may feel like it is over. It ain't over, because if you feel like there's no other way, God will make a way specifically for you. He will call somebody to say, I just feel like, I don't even know, but I feel like giving you $1,000 right now. I just feel, and that's what you need to get to jumpstart this baby's life. Get some diapers, get some clothes, because you felt, a lot of people, I ain't got no money, but if you had money, would you kill the baby? If you had some money, would you still try to kill the baby? Would you still go through with the abortion? A lot of people wouldn't, if they had the resources that they need. So God will provide you resources. He will provide you help, like he's providing this conversation that you're listening to right now. He'll provide you a mentor. He'll provide you education to get to grow beyond where you are right now. Everything that you experience is really temporary. It's not long lasting. Our age shows us that it's not long lasting, because we ain't 10 our whole life. We ain't 15 our whole life. You're going to keep getting older. Things change. It's going to keep changing. And so I just wanted to say that, Nia, because you get my heart going. You got my heart going, girl. There is hope. There's hope beyond the rape. There's hope beyond the teen pregnancy. There's hope beyond what you feel right now. Your value don't change because someone did that to you. Okay? Because someone made you feel a certain way or because someone abandoned you. If your parents were good parents, you guess what? Now you have an opportunity to be a better mother than your mama was. Or now you have, okay, the daddy's not there. Okay, you got uncles, you got grandpas. There's mentorships. There's mentor programs. Let me tell you, all these people that we look up to, Barack Obama and Tyler Perry and whoever else. Listen, ain't nobody perfect, but they came from some situations. From abuse and all that stuff. I don't know about Barack Obama, but I know Tyler Perry. You know what I'm saying? And look what they produce in the earth today.
Yes.
So listen, life goes beyond your current situation. Exactly. You don't have to resort to the most extreme. Allow God to be God in your life because he was God before you ever knew him. He's going to be God after you know him too. And our hopes is that you know him more after this conversation than you ever known him before.
Amen. And you are not too fragile for God.
Come on.
But without God, life will shatter you.
Come on.
Life will rip you up, eat you up, spit you out, and do all of that to you without God. Because God gives you such a confidence, such a foundation, such a solidness, such a fortress. He is such a fortress around you that you can handle public ridicule.
Yeah.
You can handle rejection. You can handle being talked about. You can handle being lied on. You can handle being broke. You can handle losing your job. You can handle your car breaking down. You can handle all of those things because he is more than enough to sustain you and keep you, and he will. He will sustain you and he will keep you. There will never be a moment even before you say yes to him, but even more after you say yes to him, there will never be a moment that you are not provided for. Even if you feel by the world standards, you can be provided for with $2 in your account. You can be provided for with your car broken down. Your circumstances are not going to be perfect, but that doesn't mean that he's not there. And if I had the confidence of Christ back in high school, if I had the confidence to have a situation that was not favorable, that would lend me to public ridicule and being shamed publicly, if I had his confidence, that is such a fortress around you that it's not going to kill you the way that it will kill you when you have no covering. So I think a lot of things that we say, it only works if you have him.
Yes.
It's like without him, none of this is going to make sense. None of this is going to click to you. None of this is, if you don't have Christ, you're going to say, yeah, I hear you, but I need that abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, but that ain't no baby. Without he is the missing piece. Without him, you're never going to forgive yourself. You're never going to forgive the person that raped you. You're never going to forgive yourself for having an abortion. You're never going to heal. You are going to be 50 and it bringing you to tears every time you think about it. You are going to be that person and even if you know him, if you are not in relationship with him and walking with him, you're still going to be that person because it's people that haven't missed church in 30 years.
Come on.
And just as bitter and funky.
Come on.
As they want to be. So it's only knowledge of him and relationship and obedience to him. Because without him, like I said, this all going to sound like a bunch of, he gives the hope. Okay. We just try to open you up to receiving his hope. But only he can give it. This what the word says, one man plants the seed, another waters, but only God gives the increase. Only he can uproot the bitterness.
Come
Only he can make the
on.
whole grow. Only he can provide the provision. But without him, this ain't gonna make sense to you. And I pray that if it doesn't click to you now, that you will receive some sort of confirmation or revelation from somewhere else, that it will click. I pray that he will keep calling your name in the middle of the night and you will finally answer. I pray that those things will happen to you, because this story I would not even feel confident or bold enough to tell my story without him.
Yes.
Without him, no one would still know. I would still be ashamed. I would still be a hypocrite. I would still be all of these things without him. So we cannot ever, and it grieves my heart that people don't believe him and that they don't know that he loves them. It makes my stomach hurt when I think about all the people that are out there that are just walking and dwelling in ignorance and pain and bitterness just because they don't know him. And so, we just got to put that out there, because without him, there is not this conversation. There is not healing. There's not hope. There's not the ability to give hope. And I know that we always like to use our circumstances as our excuse. But with God, that is not, you don't need your circumstance to be an excuse when you have him, because he is just that good.
Yes.
He is just that good. Like, you don't need to justify wrongdoing and all of this, because he just is so good.
Oh, yeah. Most of the people on the streets right now who are protesting, they may be saying out of their mouth, my body, my choice, you taking away my rights. But what their heart is really saying is,